The ad was small, tucked away in an obscure maritime journal. Lighthouse keeper wanted, isolated post. For me, Elias Croft, a man weary of the city's ceaseless drone, it was in siren call. My life had become a relentless tide of noise and obligation. I craved silence. The vast, impersonal embrace of the ocean, and the stark, uncompromising beauty of a life lived on the edge of the world. The lighthouse at Blackwater Point, perched on a jagged, treeless outcrop miles off the coast, promised exactly that. Its previous keeper, a man named Thomas Vance, had supposedly retired abruptly due to health reasons, leaving the station vacant for months. The locals spoke of him in hushed tones, muttering about the isolation getting to him, but I dismissed it as typical small-town gossip. I saw only opportunity. My arrival at Blackwater Point was heralded by a grim gray sky and the ceaseless wail of the wind. The lighthouse itself was a colossal, stoic sentinel of weathered stone, its lantern room a gleaming eye against the desolate horizon. Inside it smelled of salt, old metal, and something else. A faint, almost imperceptible scent that was both briny and faintly metallic, like old blood mixed with seaweed. The previous keeper's quarters were sparse, but one item immediately caught my attention. A thick leather-bound journal left open on a small wooden desk. Thomas Vance's logbook. My instructions from the Coast Guard were minimal. Maintain the light, record weather, report any unusual maritime activity. The solitude was everything I'd hoped for. Days melted into a peaceful rhythm of polishing brass, checking the lamp and listening to the rhythmic crash of waves against the rocks below. The nights were a symphony of wind and water, broken only by the automated sweep of the light across the churning sea. I began reading Vance's log, hoping to glean some insights into the daily routines. His early entries were mundane, full of weather observations and supply lists. But as I progressed, a subtle shift occurred. The handwriting grew more erratic. Lines began to slant, and the observations became peculiar. He wrote of unnatural calm in the depths, of shadows moving against the light even when there were no clouds, and a song beneath the waves, not of whales, but of something far older. He detailed persistent, chilling dreams that blurred into waking reality, of being watched from the dark waters, of a pressure in his mind. I chalked it up to the isolation. Loneliness could play tricks on the mind, but then I noticed the symbols, scratched crudely into the stone walls near the ladder to the lamp room, and faintly on the inside of the lantern glass itself, were strange, angular markings that resembled no known alphabet or symbol. Vance had written of them in his log too, referring to them as the signs of its stirring. The first genuine shiver of unease traced its way down my spine. If the chilling atmosphere of Blackwater Point has already pulled you in, make sure to hit that like button right now. The unsettling elements in Vance's log were no longer confined to the pages. The faint metallic scent I'd noticed on arrival seemed to grow stronger, especially in the spiral staircase leading to the lamp room. The strange symbols appeared in new places. A small, fresh etching on the brass railing. A faint stain on the stone floor near the base of the tower that looked suspiciously like an older version of the symbols. It was as if the lighthouse itself was subtly changing, revealing something. One stormy night, the light, for the first time since my arrival, flickered. It wasn't a power surge. The generator hummed steadily. It was as if something was passing directly in front of the lens, something vast and unseen, momentarily eclipsing the powerful beam. I rushed to the lantern room, peering out into the maelstrom. The rain lashed against the glass, the waves roared, but through a momentary break in the clouds I saw it. Not clearly, not distinctly, but a colossal dark shape, churning the waters far below, moving with an unnatural speed away from the base of the lighthouse, leaving behind a trail of phosphorescent green. It was too massive for any known marine creature, too swift. Vance's log entries became my obsession. He wrote of the hunger, the ancient ones, and the purpose of the light. He detailed increasingly disturbing rituals he began performing, strange offerings cast into the sea, whispered incantations to the storm, all in a desperate attempt to appease or contain something that resided in the crushing depths around the island. His last entries were a terrifying descent into madness or terrifying clarity, filled with fragmented sentences and frantic warnings. "It hears the light," one entry screamed. "It beckons the others and they let it in. They were the key. I must be strong. The light must never fail." Then came the sounds, no longer distant hums. a deep, resonant thrumming that seemed to originate from beneath the very foundation of the lighthouse. It vibrated through the stone, through my bones, a constant, low frequency that felt less like a mechanical sound and more like a vast, living heartbeat. The light from the lantern, which had once felt like a comforting guardian, now seemed to draw something in, to highlight its presence in the abyssal dark. I knew now that Vance hadn't gone mad from isolation. He had gone mad from what he discovered, and what he had been trying to keep contained. The thrumming intensified with each passing night, accompanied by faint, skittering sounds from within the walls themselves. I began to understand Vance's frantic carvings. They weren't just symbols, they were sigils, protective wards, desperate attempts to ward off whatever primal force he had become aware of. He had left behind not a warning about his own failing mind, but a chilling testament to an encroaching horror. I found a hidden compartment in Vance's desk, expertly concealed. Inside was a small lead-lined box. My hands trembled as I opened it. It contained a single petrified object, a dark, irregular shard that looked like volcanic glass, yet pulsed faintly with a deep internal light. And beside it, a final folded piece of parchment, not from the logbook, but a desperate scribbled note. This piece, from its core, it anchors it. It whispers from the deep.
Keep the light, keep it contained.
The light holds it back. If the light fails, it takes us all. They let it in, the keepers before me. They were the food. It's too late for me. I can feel it calling. The current pulls. You are next, Elias. My predecessor hadn't retired. He hadn't gone mad from isolation. He had succumbed to something unspeakable. He had been taken. And now this thing was aware of me. The light from the lantern was not just a beacon for ships, it was a cage. And I was the new keeper of that cage. The briny, metallic smell in the lighthouse, I realized with sickening clarity, was not just the sea. It was the scent of the entity, of its ancient, alien presence that had seeped into the very stone of the tower. The ocean outside, once a symbol of peace, now felt like a vast, hungry maw. The waves crashing against the rocks were not just water. They were the sound of something restless, something immense, trying to break free. My nights became a desperate vigil, watching the waves, listening to the thrumming, knowing that the light, my only defense, was also its constant, maddening lure. The chilling truth is unfolding, isn't it? If the secrets of Blackwater Point have you on edge, let us know. Drop a comment with your theories on what this ancient horror truly is. The storm that hit Blackwater Point a week later was unlike any I had ever witnessed. It wasn't just wind and rain, it felt sentient, directed. The waves slammed against the base of the lighthouse with impossible force, as if a colossal hand was battering the stone. The thrumming from below became a deafening roar, vibrating through my very bones, and the ancient symbols on the walls began to glow with a faint, sickly green light, pulsing in rhythm with the sound. The lead-lined box containing the shard began to hum, a deep, resonant vibration that I could feel in my teeth. The light in the lantern room flickered wildly, not from mechanical failure, but as if something was trying to smother it, to pull its energy away. I fought to keep it stable, to adjust the mechanisms, knowing that if the light failed, even for a moment, the barrier would be broken. Vance's final log entry echoed in my mind. The light must never fail. Outside the lantern glass, amidst the raging storm, colossal, indistinct shapes moved through the water, darker than the abyss itself, churning the sea into a frothing, phosphorescent madness. They were glimpses of the entity, or its extensions finally manifesting. Tentacles, limbs, I couldn't tell. My mind struggled to process the scale of the horror I was witnessing. It wanted to get in, it wanted me. Suddenly, a massive, impossible crack spiderwebbed across the lantern glass. The integrity of the lighthouse was failing. The thrumming reached a crescendo, and the walls themselves seemed to moan. I clutched the lead-lined box, the glowing shard burning against my palm even through the lead. This was its anchor, its weakness, but also its connection. The last thing I remember before the glass shattered and the cold, briny water rushed in was a final deafening shriek from the depths, a sound that wasn't of this world. The light died. The lighthouse, once a beacon of safety, became a tomb. They found the island days later after the storm broke. The lighthouse stood silent and dark, its lantern shattered. They found no trace of me. But if anyone ever dares to take up the post at Blackwater Point, let them heed the whispers, let them read the logs, and let them pray the light holds. Because some secrets are meant to stay buried in the deep, and some lighthouses are not just watchers of the sea, but watchers of something far more ancient and terrifying. If this chilling story of an ancient horror and an isolated lighthouse keeper left you speechless, Make sure to hit that like button and leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts. What do you think truly lurks beneath Blackwater Point? And if you haven't already, subscribe to Story Shock.